Seiya dropped out of the academy, and Jihan cheered her up. Now Seiya felt happy and relaxed. Jihan and Seiya went back home. Seiya was happier and felt much better than before. After her awakening, Seiya decided to leave the academy. It was common for students to drop out after awakening, since they went there to get their gifts in the first place. With Jihan planning to train Seiya himself, they decided there was no point in her staying at the academy. The biggest issue now was Jihan. Tomorrow was the top 100 game, and Jihan was uncertain. He had lost his Wanderer's Eye and hadn't fully mastered the nameless divine arts, which were S-rank instead of SSS. He only had 3 talents and lightning thunderstep, which annoyed him. Seiya noticed Jihan's troubled expression. Seiya wondered if Jihan was in a bad mood because of the upcoming promotion match. Jihan was more worried about his future. Seiya cheered him up, confident he would find a solution and win, as she always believed in her uncle. She wanted to bet on Jihan's victory, but Jihan disagreed and discouraged her from gambling. Seiya reminded Jihan that he used to gamble, so why couldn't she? Jihan explained that gambling wasn't for kids. She didn't believe him and ignored his advice. Jihan suddenly smiled, and his left eye flashed with lightning. That night, Jihan meditated in the playground, feeling the sensation in his left eye. He tried to eliminate the energy causing it, locating it precisely before destroying it. His left eye hurt and felt like it would explode. Suddenly, a message appeared, saying Jihan had successfully removed the remnants of the wandering martial god. Jihan was now free from the constellation's control, surprised and confused. He could now receive support from other constellations, realizing the wandering martial god had been a parasite, not the benefactor he thought. Jihan felt relaxed, though it was hard to believe the wandering martial god was actually a parasite. Now wary of Jihan, the wandering martial god had hidden his traces. Jihan wondered about this so-called wandering martial god, realizing there was still much he didn't know. With the wandering martial god's strength gone, Jihan decided to find other constellations. He also received an epic quest to find the Shadow Queen, which offered a 50,000-point reward. Jihan wanted the Shadow Queen to become his constellation, but was unsure what to do next. Fireworks exploded in the sky as the top 100 bronze promotion match began. The game would last until only one player remained. Jihan stood surrounded by many players, holding his phoenix spear. Jihan declared he had no intention of facing them one by one, challenging them all at once. The players attacked Jihan, who used his spear to defeat 2 of them. As more players attacked, Jihan defended himself. Suddenly, someone shot magic at Jihan from behind while he was facing another player. Jihan used his force to maintain his spear and dodged the magic, which hit and killed his opponent. Jihan ran towards the mage player, surprising him. Before the mage could react, Jihan punched him to the ground. Jihan only had to worry about Baron now. Suddenly, someone swung a sword at his face. Jihan blocked the attack and looked back. It was Lady Li's bodyguard, Gayong. He wondered why she was here. When people got used to the fact that dying in the game meant death in real life, the final match of the East Asian League took place. Japan's representative was the Sword King. Korea didn't have anyone capable of competing against him, and the Korean rankers, fearing death, avoided joining the team. In that desperate situation, a candidate for the Sword King's successor rose to the challenge, Lady Li's bodyguard, Gayong. But now, she was attacking Jihan in the game. Jihan wondered why she was here, as she had never been part of the top 100 match before. She kept using her sword techniques to attack Jihan. He dodged every attack, wondering how the future had changed. Then, Jihan blocked Gayong's attack with hand-to-hand combat and used his lightning thunder step power to kick her. With some distance between them, Jihan picked up his spear and attacked Gayong. She stepped back and dodged, causing Jihan to crash into the ground. Jihan wondered why she was so strong. She stepped forward and attacked Jihan again. She forced him back, using her sword techniques, and Jihan defended against all her attacks. He was surprised by how much stronger she was compared to the last time he saw her. Her movements were far more efficient, each swing had weight, and her steps were lighter. She attacked again and again. Jihan wondered what had happened to her. Reflecting back, Gayong had been talking with Lady Li. Lady Li asked why Gayong was trying so hard recently. Gayong replied that she had entered the top 100 bronze match. Lady Li was surprised and learned that Gayong had already reached level 25. Gayong had been finishing first in every match except when she faced Jihan. Lady Li cheered her on. Gayong asked Lady Li for a favor, a new sword. Her current sword, given to her by Lady Li when she joined the guild, was too heavy and had been hurting her hand. She apologized for speaking ill of it. Lady Li was shocked by Gayong's words and feelings about the sword. She wondered why Gayong had waited so long to say something. The sword had been blocking Gayong's progress. Lady Li shouted that she could use her own money to buy a new sword for Gayong. Gayong replied that Lady Li had blown all her money gambling, so how could she afford a new sword? Lady Li was shocked and made a phone call to get a new sword for Gayong, telling her to show the world that she was from the Twin Star Guild and to prove she could beat Jihan. Lady Li cheered her on. Gayong smiled and promised to win the top 100 match. In the match, Jihan pushed Gayong back with his Phoenix Spear. She blocked his attack, but in the second strike, Jihan hit her face with the spear. They both knew she couldn't beat him, but she was trying her best. If she avoided him and faced weaker opponents, she could survive longer. Jihan wondered why she was so persistent. Gayong told Jihan she knew she couldn't beat him now and might never be able to, but if she backed off, it would be the end. She would do her best to follow as closely as possible. She used her ultimate sword technique. Jihan, remembering his past life, knew she always did her best in the name of advancement, even if she couldn't beat her opponent. Though she had died to the Sword King in his past life, she had managed to join the top 100 through her own effort this time. Jihan was curious about how much his regression would change her future. This confirmed it. Jihan thought and smiled. Now, Gayong was ready to use her ultimate skill, Plum Blossom Storm. She attacked Jihan with full speed. Jihan had the perfect technique to counter her attack. He fought back and destroyed her ultimate technique using Thousand Soldier Sweep.